Hey anyone, how's it going? Welcome to Bite Size Reactions, where I'm going to be watching Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I'm going to be doing this in theaters, so obviously there's not going to be a live reaction, but I will see you afterwards for more of a review. Let's just get into it. And I'm back. What a movie. Marvel has done it again. I loved that so much. Another movie to compete for my probably the top 10, top 5 maybe even of Marvel movies of all time. It's nuts. I i don't know what I was expecting for this movie really, but what we got blew my mind. Really, it was spectacular. The action was spectacular. The effects, everything was just beautiful, and I enjoyed it so much. I'll do a more full review when I get home, so see you there. I need to repeat myself. That movie was phenomenal. Marvel has hit it out of the park once again and delivered a spectacular film. The storytelling, the action, the cinematography, the visuals, all blended together, and it was amazing. Really. The thing I want to talk about is the fighting, which is a real highlight of this movie. Now, as much as I like Marvel, and as much as I will defend them online, their hand-to-hand combat is largely lackluster, and they seem to go on more flash than substance. And it's not really surprising. It's like you ain't seeing hand-to-hand combat on Iron Man or Thor, right? But still, it could have been a little bit better. And until now, our best example of hand-to-hand combat has been back all the way to the Winter Soldier. Some of the fight scenes between Bucky and Steve, that was the best. This movie easily blows that all out of the water. It was just so good. No quick cuts, no too much jumpy motion. This is clear, core fight choreography, and they can actually do that fight choreography. The actors can, actually do it. It looked so good. The flow was just so. It was great. Really, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what other words I can use to get my point across, but it was amazing to watch. The cinematography along with it, we're used to seeing like really quick cuts, jump cuts, fight scenes, but the camera moved with the flow of the fight. It cut only not too much, only when necessary, and then there was those moments of slow motion where we focused in on their faces. It was just really spectacular. All the fights, the effects too were really right up there. In the latter half of the movie, we saw a lot of fictional creatures, and they were all really beautiful. They weren't like those Wakanda rhinos, which a lot of people, criticize. They were just really beautiful, and they felt present in the scene, and they were just they were great. In entertainment today, it's not rare to see an Asian dragon like this. Entertainment really loves coming toward the Western dragons with the legs and the wings and the fire breathing, but it's not really doing this. These Chinese dragons are, very different. Really like these long snake-like things. This was cool, and no fire breathing. Water bending dragon, right? When have you all last seen a water bending? If Rhea and the Last Dragon hadn't come out, this would have been like the first time a lot of people are seeing a water bending dragon. It was awesome. Speaking of water bending, I forgot to mention that the airbending during the fight scenes was also really cool as well. And it's also really lame that this movie did the airbending a lot better than the Avatar movie, which we shall not talk further about. The character motivations, very well done, right? Shang-Chi's trying to live his life. I really loved the reveal that he's trying to live his life not just running away, but he did in fact kill the man who killed his mother. And then the regret of that is what was the final push towards the new life. All those scenes where he told his sister he'd come back in 3 days, he was being honest. It wasn't until he had actually killed the man that he decided to go run away, right? Because that's something that's left unsaid when he's talking on the plane. It's like, if he had told me to burn down nations, I would. Now, that doesn't sound like the words of a person who was planning to run away, right? So, yeah, that was a really great motivation. It was accepting the fact that he had done it and not just trying to ignore it and pretend it didn't happen. That really, built him up. And the Mandarin himself, Wen Wu, was... I loved having him as a really nice character. Because in the end of the day, he isn't this great, powerful warlord of legend, right? With powerful rings. He's just a guy trying to get his wife back. And that was really nice to see. And at the end of there, he did sacrifice himself for Shang-Chi. I mean, we'll not forget that he is definitely a criminal and a murderer, and he's thousands of years old, and I think he said he was Genghis Khan. But still, in the scope of the movie, he was much more relatable man. Now, just a few random things. Trevor Slattery, we all remember the infamous Mandarin from Iron Man 3, which turned out to be a fake. So many people were, not even believing he'd be in this movie, hoping for at least a couple seconds of cameo. Maybe. But he was here. He was a decent character in himself, and we came back to him on multiple occasions. And man, am I surprised. And I'm happy for it. I'm really glad that they didn't just ignore it. They brought Trevor Slattery back. Mandarin even talked about it, right? He even made fun of the Mandarin name. It's like, oh, he didn't know what my name was, so he just called me an orange. It's just a really funny way to do that. He called me an orange. Making fun of that name. It's just really nice kind of separation from, that and, the comics legacy of the character, which hasn't always been great. Another thing that really shocked me, but I still enjoyed, was the heavy use of Mandarin Chinese throughout the movie. The movie started with it. I thought, okay, maybe this is just an opening scene thing. After she's done telling the story, we'll go back to a normal thing. But no, characters kept speaking it throughout the movie, and it was pleasantly surprising, and I enjoyed it. I don't mind reading subtitles. And it's a surprise because the fact is that many industries, not just in the US, often default towards using their language. It's not just the US, but still. In a scene where it doesn't make sense for two characters to be speaking English in that moment, they would have been speaking English. Let's imagine two Russians in Russia are talking in English. It doesn't make sense that they are. So they're talking in English for the benefit of the audience, right? It's for the audience's sake, we'll just make them speak in English. This movie didn't do that. It used English when needed, and it switched to Mandarin. It made sense. And I enjoyed it. It's not something you get to see very often. Then the rings themselves. Let's be honest, they aren't comic accurate. Not really. The comic book 10 Rings, and the ones I'm more familiar with from the Iron Man Armored Adventures TV show, they're like the Infinity Stones in their own way, right? Each ring is a different power of its own. And when you combine all of them, you have infinite power. That wasn't the case here. At least it's not yet. Maybe it'll change in the sequel. I don't know. These things are far more physical weapons, right? Much more toned down. And I get why. We literally just did the Infinity Stones for a whole bunch of movies. To have another artifact just like them it's not great. And I loved, the design and how they fought anyway, right? Wen Wu used them as heavy force projectiles. And their sparking blue power then compared to when Shang-Chi and a little bit of his mother using them, they turned very different, right? They're much more. Their energy is orange. Their power isn't so sparky and wild. They're much more contained and peaceful. Whenever one who uses them, it's literally just like kind of like punching and then coming back on his arms. His little projectile, really. It's just like firing them off and bringing them back. But Shang-Chi just has the power over them that they're just orbiting around him. It just looked so good. And I loved like the dichotomy between them when they've used the rings against each other. Shang-Chi got 5, and then, his father had the other 5, and it was just really good. Really enjoyed it. And Shang-Chi has them now. So for all you whiners about him not having superpowers, well, he has magic metal bands now. There's your superpowers, which I'm okay with. It's nice. It's nice to have him, be a big hitter. Speaking of the Avengers, there was that end credit scene, right? I mean, Wong was just like, "Hello, how's it going?" And Carol and Bruce, a non-Hulk Bruce, by the way. I don't know how I feel about that. I liked Smart Hulk, so She-Hulk. Gotta tell me what's going on there. It's just really nice. It's like, hey, what's up, Magic? Yeah, Avengers, look. It was cool. And the fact that these rings are calling out to something. They've been triggered by Shang-Chi, not his father, for thousands of years. And how chill, like the Avengers is taking this. We're always like, how interesting. This is magic we haven't seen before. Carol's like, yeah, no, I don't recognize this. This is any alien tech I've come up before. Bruce is just like, what's up? Welcome to the circus. Bye. Well, we're talking about end credit scenes. The second end credit scene, he said his sister was gonna go mop up the 10 rings and shut them down. But I knew that wasn't gonna happen. I knew she was gonna stage a takeover. This is the same sister who, upon her escape from the 10 rings, didn't lead a peaceful life like him, but somehow built herself a super fighting ring. We saw Abomination, we saw versus Wong. By the way, I am now more confused about those two than I was in the trailer. Because what's happening there? What's going on? Give me some answers. They were fighting, but Wong was like giving him advice, and then Wong took him back to his cell. It's like, what's going on? And then I also saw an extremist soldier in like a blinking you'll miss it moment Easter egg. That was the fight. Yeah, I gotta say the fighting ring was great. Which, back to my original point, yeah, if she was gonna do that, it makes perfect sense that she'll take over the 10 rings. And I really love that little end credit singer where it's like the 10 rings will return. And it's so much. It felt so much more significant because in previous Marvel movies, when they say this will return and that will return, it's been plain white text on a black background, and it's usually referred to a character, right? So traditionally, in the past, this would have been Shang-Chi will return, but no, the 10 rings will return. That's pretty significant. I'm like, okay, cool. We got a new villain-ish organization on the scene, and they're around to stay for a while at least. I'm interested to see what they'll do. If I have one quibble with the film, is that I think its subtitle, The Legend of the Ten Rings, is false. It doesn't belong. This movie had nothing to do with the Ten Rings. Like, yes, Wenwu himself was a big character, but the rings themselves were just weapons. They were there. They were helpful. But they were just there. Especially with what they seem to be, calling out, whatever. It doesn't seem like. It seems like The Legend of the Ten Rings would have been a great title for a sequel or something. I don't know. I get that the title is about 10 rings as in the organization more than the physical, powerful bangles. But I don't know. I just feel like maybe there could have been a better title out there for this film. Full subtitle. And while we're here, can I float a theory? Watching Iron Man Armored Adventures, the finale of that show, were a bunch of dragon aliens coming from space to come take the rings back. It's like, oh, we sense the rings woke up. We're here to take them back. They belong to us. So, I believe that's what's going to happen next movie. Same kind of thing. Ancient dragon aliens are going to show up and be like, we want them back. They're ours. I don't know. That's just my hat in the ring. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Years, unfortunately. Be many years for a Shang-Chi sequel. Yeah, I really think I got all my thoughts out. So, at the moment at least, I'll probably kick myself with something or the other later. Over here will be a random video recommended by YouTube. Over here will be a playlist of my videos. And on my face is the subscribe button. Like, comment, subscribe, criticize even. I don't mind. See ya.